Everybody, it's Becky Pearson, and today I'm joined with my daughter Emma.
Hi.
And we are talking about breeding. This weekend we were able to watch live or online live. We didn't.
Our plan was to go to the sale, but unfortunately we did not. So.
Yeah. And we're talking about the Pink Buckle sale.
Sale.
It is an amazing
It's
sale.
just an amazing event, period.
It is. So the high seller of the sale, that was kind of neat.
Mr. Chuso says.
Yeah, yep, and he sold for $850,000. He was a stallion that sells with his slots in the program, the Pink Buckle program and the Ruby Buckle program.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty neat to see. And then they
sold Dash to Streak, which he was $350,000. And he, both Mom and I talked earlier. We were expecting it to actually be opposite, because Truso says he's a fairly young stud, junior stud, anyways. We felt like, and whereas Dash to Streak was pretty proven.
Yeah, that was our opinion, but obviously we weren't bidding.
Yeah, we weren't bidding, so.
Our pockets aren't that deep.
The pick she had went for, what was it, $250,000?
Yeah.
The Linda Listen or whatever.
I have expensive taste.
Yeah, and she passed it down.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. My budget was less than $10,000. There was
there
nothing.
was nothing.
There might have been one horse for less than $10,000.
The cheapest horse I think I watched was $18,000. So
yeah,
that was horse, not embryo. I mean, the embryos were actually a lot of times more expensive than the horses themselves.
Yeah,
which is crazy to think about.
It was crazy. So that brings us to our topic today, is our breeding program. So we can't afford to buy those high dollar horses. No. We have spent a lot of money on horses.
It hasn't been on the breeding itself, though.
Right. We needed performance rodeo horses for the kids to be competitive in high school rodeo, junior high rodeo. We have been fortunate enough to find some really nice horses that fit the girls well. So, so we also have some really nice mares that we wanted to carry the lineage on. So we have decided to start a breeding program. And this year, our breeding program got ramped up a notch.
Ramped up way quicker than we would have liked it to be. Yeah. I think just because of injuries to our mares, which is why we bought the mares, because we felt the geldings, yes, geldings are great, and they're I'm not going to say always good to be around, but they're, they have less attitude, less fight, but, they can't, if they get hurt, you have nothing there, you just have a gelding. And so that's why we really did prefer to buy mares for our performance horses, especially mares that were bred well.
Yeah. So in the past, we've had one mare, and we bred to whatever was kind of convenient here in the local area. And so we've had a few babies, and I've always enjoyed that process. And my husband, however, does not enjoy the babies or colts. That's just not something he cares to do. Like I said, we have now these really nice mares that some have had injuries, and so we decided to take the time to get some babies out of them. So so we started off this year when, as some of you might recall, Emma's mare Twice sustained a navicular fracture last fall. And so we thought, now is the time to get her, to pull an embryo from her. And so we decided to breed to, again, kind of something that was convenient, but it's convenient that he's really hot right now too. A stud here in our hometown of Broken Bow, Nebraska, called Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. and his offspring right now are
he just got second. One of his babies just got second at the Derby. I'm gonna just use a convenient example. Mabel Maccabee, she did really well on one of his babies down there in the fraternity. They are super hot right now, and like it's just not stopping them. Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, I'm pretty sure, is now the new arena record holder at Cheyenne. Let's see here.
And then of course there's Amelia McComber from here in Nebraska. She rides a really nice Ain't Seen Nothing Yet horse,
really
Wally,
well.
that yesterday morning qualified for the American.
She you can't bring that horse up and not talk about millions out in Utah a few years ago.
Yeah.
What was that, like 60,000 just from two
In
runs, one
yeah.
run. So.
And then there's Maggie
Polonic.
She is in Wyoming, and she has a really nice one. And there's a bunch of them out there that are really doing well. And we've never had one. And but what people say about them is that they're like teaching a fish to swim. So when it comes to putting them on barrels. So we decided, since we had our nice mare, who is bred,
she's Corona Cartel and Special Effort on the top, and Dash for Cash and Mr. Jess Perry on the bottom, which, it's all run, but that mare will eat some, she'll eat the barrels and the poles up. Yeah. She's been my main in the polls for the past 2 years, and she's been so close to nationals both years. We went in top 4 to state finals 2 years in a row and ended up, my sophomore year, I think we were 8th, but then this year we ended up alternates. So we just have not had the state finals to hold us in there.
Yep. That's going to change this year.
We picked Ain't Seen Nothing Yet just because he is in so many incentives. He's in the Pink Buckle, he's in the Royal Crown. We knew we weren't going to pick something that wasn't going to have a lot of incentives, just because Twice is such a nice mare and she's so well bred. Like, if you look at her, we get so many compliments on her just because of how correct she is, but like, she's a very refined mare. So even we weren't going to do something that wasn't incentivized and wasn't a nice stud.
And the reasons for that, in case we need to sell, because this is a horse business, we do have to think about resale value, and the more incentives that the foals are eligible for, the more buyers you have that would be interested, and they'll fetch a higher price.
And so we just knew we would have, and you'd have a really nice baby, no matter what. I mean, the studs that are paid into Pink Buckle none of them are slouches. Which is what we try to base off is Pink Buckle, because if they're in Pink Buckle, they're in almost every other incentive. I think
they're in a lot of them.
Yes.
Yep. And we watch the results. We watch how the horses run down there. When we've been down there now 2 years in a row. It's been going 5 years, I think, total. And so it is such a neat event, and it just helped that we had a Pink Buckle eligible stud right here in our hometown. And our breeding that we did last year also was based on a Pink Buckle stud right here in town as well. So to me, it's kind of a no-brainer, but we tried some other studs as well, but we can talk about those a little later.
Yeah, well, I plan to, actually. Do you want to right now? Because we're talking about picking studs.
So last year, while we were down at the Pink Buckle, they had a charity silent auction for some various studs. And so I bid on some. It was an online auction. I kind of got crazy bidding online last year. I shouldn't say crazy. I was looking for
you were crazy because Well, I mean, might have been a bad influence.
She was a very bad influence.
But
so
you bid online and you bought a horse on the sale.
Yes.
And
Emma said, only bid once. You'll never get him. I bid once and I got him. So that is El Jefe or the boss.
He's by Bullseye Bowling.
He's
a really nice colt, though.
He's a very nice colt. He is down, getting started right now as we speak with Phil Haugen. And so that was my first purchase last year from Pink Buckle. And then we did, I bid online for some of the stallions because for their stud fee, because we knew we would have another mare or two that needed
that were going to be open.
And we needed to breed. And so I ended up getting the winning bid on Jaguar, who is by Dash to Fame out of Rosa's Cantina. And that is Lisa Lockhart's really good buckskin mare that she's made it to the NFR on. And so so we really didn't know much about him. He was just super cheap. Again, I'm kind of a bargain shopper. And so got the stud fee bought. And our plan was to put that on Gracie's mare that we called Roni, because Roni had an injury and ended up making her a brood mare only. And so so that was our plan. Mm-hmm. So we had and then in December I won a breeding to High Road to Fame, and that is a really nice stud out of South Dakota that Chuck and Mary Crago have. And so that was our plan, to do that horse on our Rosie's Red Money mare. So we were only planning on doing 3 horses, 3 mares bred. And then in October, late October, we were gifted a mare, a brood mare, that goes back to Zampar Bar, and she was the last brood mare of Sonny and Carol Keene, and they're the couple that I used to work for in Minnesota. So there's some sentimentality to that one as well. So all of a sudden, our brood mare band
went up to 5.
Grew a lot. Yeah. So we had started last winter while Emma's horse was on stall rest. We knew that she would be ready to compete on in the spring, and we chose to breed her and then flush the embryo so that she could continue to compete. And so we started off in December. We put her under lights, mm-hmm. and the lights help the mares cycle. So it kind of tricks their body into thinking that they have more daylight, and so that spring is coming, and so they should start cycling, and keeping her blanketed. And we also kept Sassy, the mare that was gifted to us, we kept her under lights, but we did not blanket her. I didn't quite understand. I just thought it was because they would shed also, and so we were keeping Twice in, and we kept her blanketed, but we didn't blanket Sassy right away. And I think we kind of messed up there because Sassy did not start cycling quite like Twice did.
Twice was ready. She was ready to start the breeding process like in March. Yep,
like the 1st of March.
Mm-hmm.
And Sassy was not. And I don't know if it was just Sassy is a little bit older. Could be part of that. Could be that she didn't get blanketed, so the body was not warm. We did have some really cold spells there, like in late February, early March. And so our plan to have Sassy be the recip mare for Twice, it didn't work out.
So now we have a recip mare too.
Yeah. And so we bred her the first time in middle of March.
It was mid-March, yeah.
And flushed, and there was no embryo. Mm-hmm. So had to breed her again. And then went back, and that second time was
she was ready.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And then had a successful implantation into the recip mare called Roja, which that was a whole process that was so new to us. We'd never done any of the recip, embryo transfer, recip mare kind of stuff.
Which, what we talked about when we were up there, it's like grade 1. Grade 1 is the worst chance of like being in, taking into the recip mare. Grade 2, that's a little better. Grade 3 goes up to grade 5, and I think if I remember right, Twice's embryo was grade 3 or 4.
Okay, yeah, so it was a pretty good quality embryo that second time around. And what I didn't understand, so we bred her locally. So our vet, Todd Longfellow here in town, he collects or works a lot with the stallion owner, Lisa. And he bred our mare, and then we took her to Norfolk to Dr. Brad Johnson to do the embryo transfer. So he needed to know exactly when she had ovulated, and it was kind of my fault on that first round. I didn't give him a heads up exactly when we were breeding her and exactly when she ovulated. Thankfully, he did have a mare that paired up, but basically they have to check the recip band of mares every day and see how big of a follicle they have, because you want to sync them to be like within a day of each other of their heat cycle. And so we learned on that first one, and then we had better communication on the second round. And so Sassy wasn't ready, but Roja was. And so now we have Roja as a recip mare, and she's interesting. She's hard to catch.
She is, I think, the typical recip mare.
Yeah, she doesn't really want her feet trimmed.
No, she just
is
not quality, but she's
nice.
Yeah.
She's a big mare, so I don't think she's really going to have any problem
hopefully
having the baby. Yeah. And normally we do foal in the pasture. We probably will not with this one, just because of the value or the the potential value of this foal, and the fact that the mare doesn't really want to be caught. I would like to get my hands on the baby earlier versus later, so we will have her up, and it's going to be probably Marchish when she is going to foal.
Have to be in a stall, actually.
Yeah. So we will change our program up a little bit there as far as the foaling goes, but so that was kind of the breeding process with Twice and Roja. And so we did give shots of estrogen or progesterone to Roja. She actually was allergic to them, so we actually had to stop that and then put her on Regimate. And so we did that every day on her grain, which was kind of a pain to do, but it worked. We made it work. So just to make sure that the pregnancy is stabilized, and so that she doesn't abort. So, and then if we talk about the value of that baby, you did a little research on some of the Ain't Seen Nothing Yet.
Yeah. So this year at the sale, there was a yearling filly down at, one yearling filly, if I remember right, that sold for $30,000. And I mean, her mom was a proven mare and well-bred, as Twice is, she's well-bred. And so, it depends on whether it's a filly, whether it's a stud colt, what we do with it, but whether it is or it isn't, there's still quite a bit of value just even at a year old. As we've talked before, we're not going to try to keep them into their 3-year-old year if we're going to sell them.
Right.
So, because we felt like after their 3-year-old year, you start to get into more of the training costs, the costs of feed. I mean, you always have to feed them, but more heavy costs of feed,
you've had more time
Yes.
that you've had to feed this horse. And the one thing that we were talking about this weekend is just it seems like these prospects are selling almost better than the horses that are actually going. And a friend of ours, Bud Everly, he owns the local saddle shop. We've talked about this a lot. That really, you know, when we sell prospects, we're selling the dream, and the dream of what could be in the right hands and the right circumstances. And when you get to a more finished horse, you're trying to sell the reality of it. And so more often than not, the dream is going to be a lot better than the reality.
And you know, like Phil said, we were down at Phil's this week. He was like, people are like panic buying these prospects, and that was obvious at the Pink Buckle because it was ridiculous. When we talk about there's only one horse that sold under 10,000, it was probably like 9,999 because like seriously, the cheapest horse I saw was 18,000, and I watched half the sale, but that is crazy amounts of money.
Yeah, it is.
So
we want to get ourselves a little bit of that money.
Yeah, we would like to get ourselves a little bit of that money. And so whether, you know, if it's a stud colt, we talked about selling it. If it's a filly, we said we'll probably keep it. She'll probably be sent to, you know, a well-known paternity trainer because we would like to get her resume built up so we can breed her and she can have a resume for when we breed her herself.
Yeah, if it's a stud colt, we're probably going to offer it for sale to help pay for some of these other horses. And if it's a filly, the goal will be to keep it, to ride it, to prove it, and then if it needs to go to a broodmare herd of some sort, or we want to pull embryos out of it, those horses that fetch the high dollars are the ones that are out of really well proven mares. And every horse on these sales that has a proven dam, I mean, just
such as Firewater Fiesta, I'm just trying to think of them.
Hello Stella.
There were several. Babe on the Chase.
Yes, yeah.
There were several NFR mares with studs like Goodbye Lane, Epic Leader, Sirocco.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic sale. Yeah. Like, there's nothing that probably compares to it, I don't think.
And, you know, there were a lot of comments made about, oh, you know, barrel racing is getting to be such a rich man's game, or, not necessarily. I mean, you can still breed to these stallions with your mare and be at these great events. Are you going to be able to buy a filly by the Goodbye Lane out of Hello Stella for less than 100,000?
No. Goodbye Lane out of Hello Stella. Hello Stella is the Goodbye Lane.
All right, so let's see. They had an embryo.
Hello Stella of Tres Ace.
Yes. Okay. Are you gonna be able to buy a Tres Ace out of Hello Stella for less than 100,000? No. What did he go for? What did that embryo go for?
Went for 110,000. The embryo. The foal's not even on the ground.
Yeah. And then there was a Goodbye Lane. Basically, it was going to be a full sibling to Hello Stella, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was 210,000 or something like that.
So are you going to be able to buy that for cheap? No, you're not going to. So if you're wanting to...
But you can breed to the good. Like if you have a fairly, if your mare has even won on your rodeo amateur circuit, whatever, or it's just consistently in the 1D and you have the results to show it, I mean, I think the owners of Goodbye Lane are so good to work with. Or I think it's obvious, just being at the event, they're there cheering every one of those babies on.
Yeah.
If you have a proven mare, I think they're really willing to work with you to breed to that.
And as are a lot of the stallion owners that are there. So, and that's not just Pink Buckle stallion owners. No. That just happens to be the event that just occurred the last few days. So,
and the event we were at.
Yeah. And it's, those horses also, that didn't just happen. That took years of planning. It took proving those mares. It took picking the right stallion for them. It took the offspring ahead of them doing well. All of those things play a part of that high dollar horse that sells on the sale. Plus, then you have good horsemen that are preparing these colts
the correct
way. And so it's not just somebody got lucky and sold a horse for $200,000 or an embryo for $200,000. No, there was a lot of work into that. And so when we look at it superficially, then you think, oh my gosh, yeah, they're just rolling in the dough. No, they're probably not. They're probably just breaking even, if even that. It is crazy how much money it takes to do this. So that's why with our breeding program, we are going to need to sell some of these to help pay for the expenses of the ones that we keep, for sure. So this year, as far as horses that we bred last year and that foaled this year, we have a really nice weanling filly that we call Pink. Some of you may have seen the episode of us going out and looking for her. So Pink is by the stallion called This Guy's a Keeper. And she's out of our brood mare, Rosie's Red Money. And Rosie's Red Money was a filly that we had raised out of my old mare, Teeny Tiny Rose. And so it's more sentimentality again for us. Teeny Tiny Rose was like my first good barrel horse. And then when the girls got old enough to run barrels, Emma.
I ran her, but I mostly ran Red, the brood mare we're talking about. Yeah. So she was my first good barrel horse.
Yeah. And she's super sassy.
Yeah, she definitely took care of me though. She always wanted to do her job.
Yeah, so she has so much heart and try. And she got injured with a stifle injury. And so she ended up going to the broodmare herd. She was the herd up until this past year. And so we got a little filly by This Guy's a Keeper, and she is Palomino with 4 white socks, a blaze.
I told Mom we're never gonna get one ever cuter. Yeah. We're gonna get like all solid Carmelo stud colts from here on out because she is the cutest thing.
She's adorable, and she's a little sassy,
which is to be expected because her mother was very sassy.
Yeah, but she also, it's been really fun. We weaned her recently, and so we started halter breaking her. And if you listen to any of Phil Haugen's stuff, he talks about that horse seeking the release. Or so many of the trainers right now they're talking about, it's not the
pressure applied, but it's the release is what teaches the horse.
Because they want that release. They don't want to necessarily get away from the pressure. They want to find that release. And she already, with the halter breaking, it's been really fun to play around with her and have her really seeking that release. So that's been really, really interesting. We'll do some video footage of her and her halter breaking and tying for the first time. We'll do that as well. Like, it's a little wild sometimes, but yeah. So that is our baby for this year. And then our
babies for next year, we're gonna have 2 babies for 2023. Yep. And then 2024 we're going to have 5
babies. So the other one, other than Emma's mare twice for 2023, will be Ain't Seen Nothing Yet out of Roni. And so we had originally thought we were going to breed her to Jaguar, but he had frozen semen. And Roni is a little bit older. She is 15, I think. And the frozen semen just did not take with her. And we were trying to do an embryo transfer on her as well. We tried it twice. It did not work. And so the vet said She needs good semen. Let's see if Ain't Say Nothing Yet will breed.
And that's something we've learned, you know, the ship semen, when we have to do ship semen, it adds another level of stress because it just, like, the quality, unfortunately, goes down.
Well,
they lose about half, is what I've learned. They lose about half their swimmers and when they ship.
Yeah, if it comes
and then if
on
it's
time.
Frozen. Well, yeah, and then if they freeze, like, let alone freeze it, then they lose more. And so so if they have to freeze it and ship it, it's just...
Yeah, so the other mare we were going to breed was Rosie's Red Money to High Road to Fame this year. And so she foaled late, and I tried to catch her on her foal heat, which we did, but with all of the labor shortage that we have in this country right now, FedEx and UPS, so the first time we did UPS, and the shipment got delayed for more than a day in Omaha. And of course, then it arrived a day late, and our mare had already ovulated. So we give her a shot to get her to cycle again. This time I'm like, okay, I'll try FedEx. And same deal. Then it got delayed in Denver and arrived the day after the mare ovulated. And we could have kept trying again, but it was getting late enough in the season that
it was not gonna be good.
And Cragos were great. Like she said, Jude, just, you know, let us know when you need shipment. We'll keep shipping until your mare gets bred. But I just felt it was getting too late, and I didn't want to, you know, screw her up for later on, because that messes you up. Your mares are bred for 11 months. And so if you miss that full heat and you miss that first 1 or 2 cycles, you know, gosh, then you're so much later. And it's just a lot. It's a lot to manage, for sure. And then after we found out Sassy was not going to be able to be a recip mare, because she again is getting kind of old, we had decided, total spur of the moment, I was just looking for a horse that was still breeding. So this was like the end of July or toward, I don't know, July 1st, mid-July.
It was before Nationals, so it had to be...
First part of July, yes, because she stayed there during high school Nationals. So it was middle of July. We found a stud that was about an hour away from us on a gator. He is all run bred. Sassy is all cow bred. And we took her down there.
And he's not pink buckle, but he's Royal Crown. He is in several of he's paid into the fraternity incentives that are around us, like the Cornhusker, Colorado Classic, stuff like that. So he's in 5 states, which a lot of the incentives that we can make it to and that are close to us, he's paid into. So
yeah, so I wanted to find something that was going to give her more speed with her being cowbred. So that's why we looked at him as well as the incentives. And but she didn't take either because we just did really one round. Barb would have done more with us had we wanted to keep trying, but again, we were getting late enough in the season. I was like, no, it's okay. We'll just try next year, and we'll try a little bit earlier. So, so long story short, we have
Clementine. We didn't talk about Clementine getting bred.
Well, we have 2 babies coming next year, and so
we have my darling Clementine. She's being retired to the broodmare pen.
She is,
which is kind of sad. But because she's done so much for all 3 of us girls, I think that is the one horse that all of us girls have rode and won on. Would you agree?
Yes. And Clem is a royal pain in the butt. But she tries her heart out when she runs through the gate, even with not feeling 100%. And that's we retired her to the broodmare pen because we had just been fighting soundness of her front feet on and off. She was lame on and off all spring, but she never refused the gait.
Mm-hmm.
She never gave, like, she never, like, wouldn't turn. She always went in and tried.
Turned.
She still was clocking with Gracie in the 21-second poles.
Yeah.
This fall.
In our normal deep Nebraska, same.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
she was still doing, I mean, just going out there and trying her heart out. And she is a half thoroughbred mare, and
out of a Pitzer stud.
yeah,
she's not bred to run barrels.
but she does, and she loves
does,
it. And so
or she did.
Yeah.
She did. And
well, she still would go out and
she
try.
still would.
Yeah.
Barrels and poles. You know, towards these last few years, I say that, but I still ran her at the state finals. We mostly thought of her as a pole horse, like probably this last year. Would you agree? Just, you know, she was starting to get older, and we were talking about her fighting soundness. She was starting to get older, so we just felt like she's getting outrun in the barrels. She would have great turns still her normal Clementine turns, but she would just get outrun between the barrels. And so I mean I did still run her at state finals, and we were placing right along actually at the end of the spring. I think just because we get into those big pens and a lot of horses run by, she would not run by. So we were still clocking, but she was a great pole horse, great barrel horse. Yeah, yes. That one will have a lot of sentimental attachment to those babies. Those will be hard to they'll be really hard to sell if they sell.
Yeah. So we're hoping to breed her to Ain't Seen Nothing Yet next year as well. Yeah. And we will breed twice back to Ain't Seen Nothing Yet as well. Flush an embryo out of her. Clementine will carry her foal. And then our hope was we actually haven't even talked about Stevie. Yeah. So Stevie, UX Smooth Stevie, you've seen her on this a lot. She is by a smooth guy out of a Firewater flip mare. And we are going to take that breeding that we have to Jaguar, and we are going to put that on Stevie next year. So our vet thought that a younger mare would be better for the frozen semen. And I did talk to Christy at High Point when we were at Pink Buckle about that we could ask for 2 doses to be sent with the frozen semen so that we have them on board, because they actually tell you once you breed, then you should do another unit or dose like 12 hours afterwards. And so we're gonna pay for another shoot fee, I guess, which I think is ridiculous. Stud fees should include all of those fees, but they don't. So you have to make sure you plan on your stud fee plus any shoot fees or shipping fees. Know what your fees are, because they can be another, $500 added to that price of things. So it's just crazy. So every time you have to get a shipment, you have to pay extra money for that. So know that usually is in your contract that you sign with the stallion owner. But we're going to probably pay for 2 of those with Stevie so that we have them there so that she ovulates, because we are going to pull an embryo from her because she will be competing in the spring as well. Yeah. So our breeding program is growing exponentially. So we're happy about that. We will have to sell some though, because we can't. So be on the lookout. They should actually be really nice horses. They should. We won't be selling any because they're dinks, but no, they'll be well bred, and they'll be paid into a lot of incentives. Yeah. So lots of money to win. And I like to think that we handle them well. Yeah, I would like to think so too. We don't ruin them. We don't ruin them. That's what I would like to try not to ruin them. Yeah. So if we still have them by their 2-year-old year, I mean, we know who they'll be started by, and they'll be handled well then. Yeah. So yeah. So stay tuned. And to give people like, I would think maybe somebody, would they want to know how much it has cost us for the recip, doing the embryo transfer and all that kind of
probably.
stuff. So we, like for example, with Emma's mare twice, our stud fee was $2,500. And then of course you have that shoot fee, and we had to do that a couple times. So I think that was an additional $250 each time, $150 or $250, I can't remember. So let's just say another $500 for the shoot fee. So you have like $3,000 going to the stallion owner. And then our vet, he doesn't just do a flat rate. He does keep track of everything. And I think it was around probably all said and done when we looked at the he bills me per month, so I'm trying to think of all my figures here. I think I probably have up to $5,000 with including the recip mare and all the vet fees in that. So this baby, we probably have about $8,000 in right now. So we would not want to charge any less than that for that baby when it hits the ground.
Well, it will not be any less than that.
Yeah.
I mean, just starting out, even with the mare power he or she will have, it would, I think we've talked about at least 15 to 20 right away.
Yeah, I would not part with it for less than 20,000, I don't think. And even with our little foal that we call Pink, with her eligibilities, honestly, I really like the mare, and I hope to keep her. If we were to sell her, I honestly don't think I'd part with her for less than
20.
Yeah. So
where she's a filly.
Yeah. And we don't have to sell her. Now, if we get to the point where I have to sell her, I might have to come down.
And we've also talked about selling Hefe, but which he's bullseye bully and pink buckle as well. As we've talked, we really don't want to do to anything that isn't, but she booked on a gator, but he's still in lots of incentives, which Royal Crown isn't the pink buckle, but there's almost as much added money at the Royal Crown. It's just not as advertised, I feel like.
Yeah, I haven't been there, so I can't really speak knowledgeably about it. So that's our breeding program right now, and it will be exciting to see how it all develops. So thanks for joining us today, and tune in for other episodes. We're going to get back on track. We've kind of been off track here for a while, but we will get back to our irregular schedule.